when Valentine was coming down the street one day, and I saw these lights chasing him, and I couldn't figure out who was being chased until I actually saw it was Valentine. And we had a role that we alternated at the front desk, right in front of the door. It was called the Officer of the Day. The Officer of the Day took inquiries when people came in to ask for something, needed to be scheduled for the medical clinic, or wanted to come in and talk to someone. The Officer of the Day controlled the flow in and out of the office. And I was Officer of the Day that particular day when I saw Valentine, diving up over the wall, and we got him inside and bolted it down and got on our phone trees because the police had started to surround, gather and surround the office when Jake was upstairs putting up the gun flaps and everybody was in position. And within minutes we were in full battle gear. Within another 20 minutes or so, the community was surrounding the house, and the police were all behind them, and then our lowriders, as we called them, were down behind the police, unbeknownst to them. And so we were all in position and ready to go. And we never took an offensive action. We were always defensive. And we would never have put the people the community people in jeopardy. But the community wasn't going to let anything happen. The police would have had to clear them out and before they launched an attack on the office. But the thing about the community, they were well organized themselves and had were hip to what police did. And so a lot of the community members that were milling out in front of the office had German Shepherds, attack dogs. They had Doberman Pinschers. So if the police were going to clear them out with their dogs, then the community had their dogs to fight their dogs. And so, they were in a no-win situation. And eventually, the police captain realized that and sent someone in to request a negotiation. And I was sent out to negotiate, and I had full body armor on. When I went out, I left my weapons inside. Jake came out with me. He was one of my bodyguards at the time, and he had his full body armor on. And they were like stunned to see that, these guys are ready for like full combat. I think it was the first time they actually saw us in our body armor. And they said they wanted Valentine. I told them they couldn't have him, and they said, well, what do you want him for? And someone reported him snatching a purse. It was ridiculous. Valentine, what's he going to do with the purse? He had been out that day selling Panther papers, and so we eventually said, well, if you've got someone that says that he sold the purse, then we want you to produce that person. And they said, well, we will have to do it in a lineup downtown. And so we said, fine, we'll bring him to the lineup at 7 p.m. And so they backed off and pulled their cops out, and eventually things settled down. And at 7 p.m. we took a cadre of there was a few party members, and we had this one of these groups that was kind of satellite group that operated autonomously. They were black contractors, and those guys were some pretty bad dudes.
Which ones were they?
Which ones were they?
Who was that?
Well, the leader of that group was the unofficial leader was Milton Norwood, and they were the original black contractors here in the Seattle area. Tyree Scott was part of that group. There was a brother by the name of Milton Dixon, not related, that was part of it. There was about 20 of them. And so them, along with a few other members of the party and some other big guys, we all went down to the police station at 7 o'clock. And the weird thing was that we couldn't get within 100 yards of the police station without like 50 cops looking around the window to see what we were doing. But when we got down there that night, there wasn't a cop in sight. We knew where what floor the lineup room was on, because we had been up there a number of times ourselves being arrested. And so we got up and went into the lineup area where they had it was almost like a small courtroom, and we sat in there for, I don't know, 15 minutes, and it was their show, but it was a no-show. And we knew that it was a no-show because they didn't have anybody, and they were just trying to harass and maybe beat up Valentine if they thought they could catch him alone. And so we left. Never heard a word from him again.